Good morning, America. Lords, ladies and gentlemen, it is absolutely brilliant to be here in Washington, D.C. And thank you for my amazing introduction, James, and thank you for having me. Although I must confess, as a Brit, I arrive with a slight sense of embarrassment at the moment. Not about the weather, no, we've reconciled ourselves to that, but about the fact that lately our government has not been as supportive as they should have been with you, and I'm sorry. But just want you to know, from this Essex girl with this microphone, we love you, America, and we support you wholeheartedly. Now, yes, we do currently have a Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and I say this with the greatest possible respect, but if the enthusiasm was energy policy, Britain would still be in a blackout. Back home, he's about as popular as a cold cup of tea. We love Trump much more than we love our own Prime Minister at the moment. Now, Britain has been a bit of a guinea pig for the world when it comes to radical climate policy. Since 2007, our economy has grown by just 21% compared to 37% in the United States. Taxes are at their highest since 1948, and there was quite a good reason in 1948 for taxes to be so high. Public debt, nearly 100% of GDP currently. Over 250,000 of our brightest have emigrated in just 1 year, with thousands of millionaires following suit. Productivity, it's lower than in 1997, despite 3 decades of technological advancement. And our industries have been absolutely hammered. We now have the world's most expensive industrial energy. Gas costs are 4 times, up to 8 times higher than that of the US. Our basic metal output has collapsed by 46.5%, petrochemicals by 30.2%. The Port Talbot steel plant, the pride of British industry, has closed. We are now the only country in the one of the only G7 nationals to be unable to produce our own virgin steel. This is absolutely awful. Our manufacturing deficits have now ballooned to past £200 billion. These are not abstract numbers. These are real people, real communities struggling, and strategic assets disappearing before our eyes. But it's not all doom and gloom. And this is where I get to have a little fun and be unapologetically proud. Because while the politicians were busy waving green flags, it was me, Lois Perry, and the Heartland who changed the conversation on our own. Let me tell you, this wasn't passive lobbying. This was relentless boots or stilettos on the ground, data-driven persuasion. I spent years meeting ministers, MPs, unions, industry leaders, and even sceptical journalists armed with the cold, unvarnished facts. And what are those facts? That the cost of net zero is estimated for the UK alone at over £1 trillion. That energy poverty is now affecting nearly 10% of European households. The industrial decline was no abstract theory, it was happening in real time. And we all know, don't we, that it is deliberate. It is a deliberate deindustrialisation of the West. It is the watermelon, green on the outside and red on the inside. Well, I wasn't going to let that happen. And the results of the Heartland in the UK, well, the results speak for themselves. Let's talk politics, because this is where Heartland's influence has really turned heads. Across UK politics, because of Heartland, we now have 3 very different positions to that from the politicians before. The Conservatives, James mentioned it before, wants the flag flyers of net zero, quietly backing away, pretending they never said it, delaying the bans on petrol cars before they were unceremoniously thrown out of government for being too woke, and gas boilers reversing their position on that as well. And Labour, would you believe it? Recently, Labour, in the last week, still committed in principle, but suddenly cautious, scaling back spending on net zero nonsense, and even reversing some North Sea oil policy under Ed Miliband, their energy secretary. Yes, you heard me right. North Sea oil is back on the table, and that is thanks to the Heartland. And then, last but not least, I have quite a good relationship with Reform UK. Now, Reform don't tiptoe, they kick the door in, as I do. And led by my good friend Nigel Farage, who has never knowingly underexpressed an opinion, like I'm never knowingly underdressed, Reform UK has reframed the entire national debate, and that is because of us. And here's the important bit. Our research, our analysis, and policy recommendations are being read at the highest levels of the party. I've been privileged to sit at tables with Nigel, feeding directly into strategy, messaging, and parliamentary debate. The public sees this too. Reform UK are leading the polls. At a recent intimate lunch that Nigel hosted for us at an exclusive private members club, a couple of months ago, I think it was, James, Nigel reiterated to everyone around that table, and he said it publicly as well, that the Heartland Institute, UK and Europe, are the reason why on day one of a Reform government, every single net zero policy is going to be reversed. Every single subsidy will be revoked, and we're going to frack, we're going to drill, and we're going to do all of those things. And in actual fact, the last time I was standing in front of a crowd like this was about a month ago, except it was a slightly different crowd. Every single person there was at the trough. Every single person there was making money from the whole climate scam. And I was able to stand up and say, basically, I advise Nigel Farage as the Heartland, and I advise every single one of you in this room to start looking for a new job. If you're a corporate, rethink your strategy. If you're an NGO, think again, because on day one, all the money's being stopped and there's absolutely nothing that anyone in this room can do about it. And for the comedy moment of the morning, the Greens used to lead every climate debate in the UK. Now their attention seems to have wandered. It used to be greenhouse gases. Now it's Gaza, following that other jolly green giant. Well, she is a bit of a giant now, isn't she? Greta Thunberg. Sorry, I'm still a girl. How dare she? It's hilarious, but it's also telling. The narrative is no longer unified. This is the opening that we've exploited. Let me give you a tangible example of Heartland in action. December 2024, London. I led the launch of Heartland UK Europe. We had a great party. Former Prime Minister Liz Truss and Nigel Farage attended. Cameras flashed. Speeches were made. Champagne may or may have not been involved. I mean, as everyone knows in here, I'm teetotal. But more importantly, this was the planting of the flag, our flag. A year later, a roaring success. Our research is no longer sitting on shelves in the UK, it's shaping policy, it's influencing MPs, it's stopping laws in their tracks and forcing parties to rethink targets. That's real world impact. And it's not just the UK. Heartland's influence is ripping across Europe, Poland, Hungary, Germany and France. Our research, our help is changing policy and causing massive ructions in the whole climate scam narrative. Everywhere you look, Heartland is turning theory into policy and policy into reality. Now, being in the US, I think it's fair to say, well, I'm getting to know the room. So let me mention someone who probably doesn't need much introduction, Donald Trump. Love his style or love it even more. He's been talking about energy independence, economic strength and common sense long before Europe remembered those were fashionable ideas. But now, because of us, it's the same in the UK and increasingly in Europe. So what does this all mean? The age of unquestioned agreement is over. In its place, cost versus ambition, ideals versus reality, and who ultimately pays the price. But in Britain, true to form, we're having that debate loudly, publicly, and with just the right amount of hypocrisy. Because if there's one thing we're really good at in Britain, we'll lecture the world how to save the planet, and then quietly panic when the electricity bill comes in. Lords, ladies and gentlemen, here's the bottom line. Heartland and I have proven that principled ideas, vigorous research and relentless communication can change policy at the highest levels, literally across governments and borders. But this work doesn't continue on its own. It continues only with the support of people like you. We've changed the conversation, we're changing politics, and we're just getting started. We've turned consensus into contention, scepticism into action, and the so-called green wall of Europe is cracking, thanks in no small part, no, I'm not going to be British about this, thanks in every part to the work that we've done. So in the words of another of your great presidents, let's tear down this wall. Thank you very much.